friends pulled up a white pickup truck.
A text from one of my former co-workers who said, "What are you doing to me here?" This is a financial planner, a CFP, that I know very, very well, that I love. He said, "You're destroying recommendations that I've been making for years by electing to take your Social Security early." and as I say, this is a personal decision. I mean, when you do the math, and I can do it as well as the next guy, when you do the math, you can do the calculations and you can determine which one is going to be best for you, and certainly delaying it for most people makes sense, especially if you have longevity in your family history, et cetera, et cetera. But in all of my research, I know this. I know that as you age, other than health care, you spend less money. And as you spend less money, then that money becomes more valuable to you in the earlier years of retirement. So for me, especially after a little medical scare, which I'm fine now, but after a medical scare, I'm saying, you know what, I'm going to take the money and run, especially considering the fact that I might get means tested out of it later on anyway. So anyway, that's a personal decision. It certainly shouldn't be one that one should run out and do just because I am potentially, I haven't pulled the trigger yet, I'm just thinking about it. All right, 844-RAY-SHOW is the number. Joining me on the hotline, we have Bill Kammerer. He is from Always Best Care in Lafayette, California, up in Northern California. Bill, hey, thank you for joining me today. How are you doing there, buddy?
I'm doing fine, Ray. Thanks very much for having me today. I'm happy to be here.
You know, I was reading your resume, your CV, as it were, and you've got Deloitte experience, Cisco, Salesforce. One of my questions is, did you get some stock from some of those companies?
I did manage to get a little bit, yes.
Because you work for some fine companies. How did you make the transition from working in the technology field to going into home care?
Well, my father is a retired surgeon, so I had been kind of exposed to healthcare related issues all my life, and I decided I wanted to take my knowledge of business and healthcare and put it together in my own business. I looked at a number of different options and decided that this was a great way to combine all of those things into my own business and in a way to do good and leave a good legacy.
Now, you represent the Northern California area, which is a huge, huge marketplace for this. In fact, nationwide, with boomers all retiring and many of us having parents that need assistance, this is a tremendous field that's only going to get bigger and better from the business perspective. But tell us a little bit about some of the things that you do specifically up there in NorCal.
Well, we primarily offer two services. The first of those is what's called home care, and that's providing non-medical care for almost exclusively seniors in their homes so that they can remain safe and happy and stay in their homes longer. The second service that we offer is in the industry is generally called placement, and that is simply helping people find the right type of a senior community to meet their needs, the geographic location, budget, etc., so that they end up in a community that they're going to be happy with, as opposed to finding out after they've made the decision that it's not quite working out for them. So those are the two things that we do here.
You know, one of the things that I think scares a lot of boomers whose parents are in that kind of a situation is the obvious expense. Can you speak to the costs of doing it and the costs of not providing those services? Because I've experienced in my own family the costs of not having a care provider. We do now, but boy, they were quite significant, very taxing on the family.
Yeah, the main trend or pattern that we see is that the people who resist having care end up having an accident. Most commonly, it's a fall and some type of injury that comes from the fall, but it can be other types of accidents as well. But then those accidents cause some sort of an injury, hip replacements, you can get infections, various things, and then they end up needing more care than they would have needed if they hadn't postponed it in the first place. So we tell people, if you want to stay in your home longer and minimize the medical expense and maintain your independence and flexibility, get somebody to help you out with the things that are a challenge so that you don't have one of these accidents that will set you back.
One of the things,
set you back financially.
First of all, folks, my special guest here is Bill Kammerer. He's the owner and president of Always Best Care in Lafayette, California. www.alwaysbestcare.com. It's a nationwide organization. They have a service provider somewhere near you, but certainly if you're in the Northern California area, you want to call 855-470-CARE, and they'll connect you with Bill. 855-470-CARE. I can't think of anything that's much more important than taking care of those who took care of us, our parents. But one of the things, Bill, that my family, my siblings did a few years back in order to help pay for care and reduce my dad's expense, especially after my mom passed, was a reverse mortgage. And that's one of the ways to pay for this care. Most of the kids, the offspring, they're not so concerned about inheriting the house and all that stuff. We all have houses. But a reverse mortgage can actually take a lot of that pressure off and give the individual the financial support that they need so that they can get the assistance that's required, correct?
Yes, that is definitely one way of funding care so that you can stay in your house longer. There's also a benefit from the Veterans Administration that can help pay for care as well. And there are a couple other programs out there. So whenever we meet with a family, we always run down that list to make sure that if they are eligible for one of these benefits, that they are aware of it, including making them aware that a reverse mortgage could be a possibility as well.
Now, you do some kind of an assessment, I assume, right? You sit down with the family and you assess their needs. We've got 30 seconds. Talk about that process, please.
Yeah, that process is really essential because you want to understand not only the client's care needs, but also their wishes, things that they like and dislike. You need to understand the family dynamics, and you need to understand what their budget is and anything else that's going to be relevant into making sure that the caregiver is well received by the family, properly trained and oriented, so that we get a good outcome. And so that assessment is the core of what becomes our care plan, which is then what's used to direct the care that's provided.
All right, Bill Kammerer, owner and president of Always Best Care, Lafayette, California. Call him, 855-470-CARE, alwaysbestcare.com. Back in a flash.